obviously coming off of a big weekend against Ferris State. What's it like to come into this week with that momentum?
Yeah, it certainly feels much better when you start Monday with coming off of a sweep versus the alternative. And it was nice too, just because we know how long our year is. The weather was really nice. The sun was out, so it certainly brightens your spirits and makes getting up on Monday morning a little bit easier.
Right. And then we can take questions from the chat. And go ahead, Peter.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. I noticed that you look like you've changed your lines up, and you're trying to balance them out a little more as opposed to going top heavy. Is that accurate? Or...
I mean, balance is something that we're certainly interested in, and then ultimately just trying to find who fits with who. Good thing is we were able to make some changes, and they resulted in positive results, not just individually but collectively, and so that was a positive. And we've got some situations where some guys are dinged up a little bit, or we're dinged up a little bit, and we had to try to figure out. But we broke up some guys that had played together for long stretches, and ultimately just trying to get as many guys going up front as we can. And I think last weekend was one of in terms of minutes played by our guys up front, it was pretty balanced in terms of that. Which, if we can play games that we don't take a bunch of penalties and we can roll four lines and we get everybody going, that is a positive for our team for sure.
Good. And you're talking about penalties. You did a great job on penalty kill. What changes you got to make for the power play, though?
I agree. The penalty kill has been, it's been a constant. They did a real nice job in a difficult rink to kill penalties in. As we talk about the power play, and we tried to move some personnel around and figure out who fits where, and maybe what power plays we want to try to use, and all that kind of stuff. We didn't do a great job on our zone entries last weekend, which certainly doesn't help. That just ends up taking time off your power play. And once we got in zone, we had a couple decent looks, but not a lot. But I think we only had 3 or 4 power play opportunities the whole weekend, so we didn't get a chance to have a bunch of reps at it. We just worked on it again today, and we feel like the plan is planned. But as you know, Peter, the key to a good penalty kill is you got to work. The key to a good power play is you got to outwork the penalty kill, because you have to execute and then you got to outwork them. And if you're not doing both of those things, it's going to be hard to be successful. So the changes are just, hey, we stressed execution, we stress our effort, but we saw some things today that lead me to believe that it's going to be positive this weekend.
Good, good. One last thing is, staying with the power play, and it's great having in zone setups and all that kind of stuff, but like you said, the major part of it is puck retrievals. And if you don't get the puck back, it's hard to set up and get any opportunities. How are you looking to address that without obviously going into too much detail?
But... Yeah, the one thing so you start every power play with a face-off in the offensive zone. So if you can win the draw right away, you give yourself a great chance to have possession right away. And then once they do clear, your zone entry has to be clean. If you can be clean, it gives you a better chance, whether it's clean with possession or it's a dump or chip puck that you go retrieve. And then I think to speak to your retrievals, Peter, the key if you're going to score a power play goal, you have to shoot. So when you get the more shots you get, and then you can retrieve and get that second and third and fourth opportunity. And we did a really good job of that 5-on-5 last weekend. We just didn't have many opportunities to do that 5-on-4. And I think that goes back to the work ethic. If you're going to retrieve pucks, you have to be willing to go get it. And so our mentality going into this weekend will certainly be that we want to possess it as much as we can, but we don't want to be a one and done team. We want to have multiple opportunities when we're on the power play.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter.
And then a question from the chat. Roy asked, Coach, building your program, what do you think is your biggest accomplishment so far this year?
This year, I would say the biggest accomplishment we've had this year is that this group of players that are on our team have stayed together. It hasn't been easy, and we all know that. But they've stayed together, and they're, coming to the rink this week, coming off of our sweep. This group is feeling good, and we know that every weekend in the CCHA is going to be difficult, and those games are so close. But the fact that this group has stayed together and fights for each other and doesn't quit and continues to push the envelope and has fun coming to the rink, that speaks a lot to the kind of character of the kids that are on this team and kind of character that we've come to expect in our program.
For sure. Is there any more questions from the chat?
Hey, Coach. Still excited to see the two goalies, Cole and Christian, seeming like they're even gaining more comfort when you're seeing both of them participating in each series. But Christian even adds an assist this weekend too. But it looked like both of them had great nights in that.
Yeah, we elected to change the rotation up from previous weekends and went with Christian on Friday and Cole on Saturday. And ultimately, this, Kevin, you've been around long enough. We want to have both our goaltenders playing well, and we want to have to potentially make a difficult decision on who's going to start. And so for both of them, they did their job. And going into the weekend, we'd had a pretty good idea that Ferris State was potentially going to split their goaltending on the weekend. So our challenge to each of those guys was, listen, you got to beat the guy in the other end. That's your job. You beat the guy in the other end, and everybody will be happy. So they've kept working, and they're working closely with Dylan Schoen, our goaltending coach, and they're pushing each other, and that's been a positive. And we want you, certainly as a coach and as a team, you want your goaltending to be a strength of yours as you get down the stretch here.
I'm sure the guys were able to rally around, Michael, Ben, Adam, all getting their first goals collegiately. How cool was that for all those accomplishments this weekend?
It kind of speaks to Peter's question earlier about the jumbled lines. We moved some guys around, and we got down early on Friday, which isn't ideal, but our guys stayed with it and they kept going, and we had Ryan O'Hara got us going on Friday with a nice breakaway goal, and then again in the third period you're down 3-1 and you're going, it's a tough road, and Adam Shankula gets us started in the third and scores his first ever collegiate goal, which was great. And Adam played and was impactful in the game, and really, really good to see him rewarded for his efforts. And then like you said, Ben Duran jumps on board, and then Michael Bevilacqua jumps on board, and the room was the bench was really excited. The guys in the locker room after were obviously really excited. So the more guys we can get on the score sheet, the better it is for us. And it speaks to the balance part, and it speaks to the depth part. We believe we're a team that can roll 4 lines and play 6 or 7D, depending on how many we have dressed that night, and play all our goalies. So hopefully this is just the beginning of us doing that.
And then another question from Roy from the chat. Lake Superior has had 5 players make the Rookie of the Week this year in the CCHA. Can you see your team doing the same by this time next year?
I hope so. We had, Michael Bevilacqua was a rookie. I know Brody Waters has got one. I know Cole Moore's got one. So we've had 3 freshmen, win some kind of CCHA honor over the course of the season. Hopefully that's the case. We continue to, the better you do and the better your results are, the more people get rewarded for it. So ultimately the individual success goes hand in hand with the team success. So if we can continue to have positive weekends where we're getting points and winning games, individuals will be recognized. And I see us, I don't think the awards that we got this weekend are the last ones we're going to get for the year.